What should the change do for my relative strategic position, and how can I prepare to deal with it effectively now? Managers who take a proactive approach to regulation are more likely to convert constraints into opportunities. I often deliver this same course to in-house counsel. At the end of the course, I ask people what are the key takeaway points from the course, and this one almost always comes up as a key point to them. If there's a new regulation, once it's told the business what the new regulation is, start thinking about this in these more relative, more strategic terms. Of course, if we're working with a client on this, it does take some investment in time. Perhaps we wouldn't do this for all of our clients, perhaps some of the clients we do most work with, but well worth our while. It does take investment in time, but well worth it. A great way in which we can stand out from the crowd. Of course, traditionally, law firms really struggle to differentiate themselves from the closest rivals. There's no quick wins, there's no easy wins in relation to that. It does take investment in time, but this is a great way of doing that. And this is actually of growing importance as we see AI generating more content. So there's a new regulation now. In a few seconds, you can type something into ChatGPT to just generate the first draft, at least, of an article. So a generic article on regulation is easy now, but how do we get that in a more personalized, tailored way for this specific client? Well, we can only do that if we use these frameworks to understand their business market. How does that impact on them in relative terms? There's a great quote on this from the American Bar Association from last year, so I'll just read that out. So one of the crucial aspects of differentiating ourselves as a lawyer through written communication is the ability to distill complex legislative changes into digestible and actionable insights for clients and their businesses. In a landscape soon to be awash with an abundance of AI-generated content that may lack uniqueness, lawyers need to craft well-structured, concise, and personalized written material to stand out from the crowd. This human element, the ability to clearly articulate and guide based on informed opinions, is what will differentiate the legal professionals in the fast-approaching deluge of written information. So, of growing importance then, using these frameworks, the ones we looked at so far, up to step 4 to identify what's unique about the business, and then when there's some change, including a change in regulation, how does that impact on them relative to competitors and other industry forces? So we'll look at this point in more depth later on, but we shouldn't just think about what the 5 forces look like today. We should be trying to identify weak signal changes in the past facts, think how those changes will play out at industry level, and therefore for just the future 5 forces model. When we see some sort of big events, it could be a big weather event, it could be a hurricane, an earthquake, it could be a pandemic, something like COVID, not just COVID, but any of those sorts of big events. We see these events, things that sit outside the general environment, and then interpreting these things, the first thing we do is think, okay, well, how those impact on the pest factors, and then how those things then play out at industry level. So let's say, for example, so as COVID started to spread internationally, in many of the large corporates, so the people whose sole role it was to start thinking about how, first of all, it impacted on the pest factors, and then how that play at industry level. So spread of COVID, okay, first of all, how will that impact on us? Political conditions locally, will we see a lockdown locally? Will we see wage subsidy, furlough laws locally, and so on? So how will that change rules and regulations? Will we see perhaps a recession, at least a temporary recession whilst people are in lockdown? So you've got, which includes working patterns. Will people then be forced to work from home? Will we see then increased investments in technologies such as Zoom, Teams, and so on? So first of all, how will it impact on the pest factors? And then step 2 of this, stage 2 of this, how that now impact on our 5 forces? Well, if you work from home, how will that impact on our workforce, type of supplier? Are we in a better position than our competitors to respond to this? Have we already got the IT infrastructure in place that allow people to work from home? Have we already got laptops and so on? Are we ahead of the curve in relation to that? How will it impact on relationship with customers? In some firms that say to me, actually, if we've got a better relationship with our customers and clients as a result of this. We rarely met our clients in person anyway. Occasionally, we'd pick up the phone and speak to them, but we wouldn't meet them in person more very rarely. But now with Zoom, Teams, and so on, we're kind of going into the home and saying, look, there's a saxophone in the background. I didn't know you played that. Or kids running, dogs barking. People saw more personal human relationship with the clients as a result of this. What about barriers to entry in the marketplace? Perhaps you could argue, well, in the future, firms won't need to have such big real estate in city centres. Does that then lower barriers to entry in the marketplace, allow new entrants in? What will be the impact on will we see more virtual firms and so on as a result of this? So we think about these things again in these relative terms. So we're going to have a go now applying this to the legal marketplace. We're going to focus particularly on hybrid working, which is really a combination of these 2 factors, social, cultural, and technological factors. Just to complete the picture, before we focus on hybrid working, they all have relative implications. A recession, for example, always has more negative impact on boutique M&A firms than it does on firms with insolvency teams and restructuring teams, employment teams. Similarly, most obviously of all, if there's a new regulation, Have we already got specialists in that area? But any change in the pest factors is relative within the legal market. But in fact, now focus on hybrid working. So a few things to discuss on this one. First of all, what do you think? Do you think it's here to stay, hybrid working? And then just discuss these issues. What the impact on employees, benefits and challenges around hybrid working? So assuming it's here to stay, what are the benefits of that? What are the challenges? What we're having to address? And then what's your experience working with clients? You said you've got a better relationship with your clients as a result of this. What about winning new clients? So would you say it's harder to win new clients? So great one to discuss in your groups. And again, it'd be good to hear back from one of the groups on this one. Okay. So we don't think about what the 5 forces look like today. We should be trying to identify weak signals of change and think, okay, how those changes play out at industry level. So let's piece this together. So Portal force step 1, strategy canvas step 2, strategy section step 3, and a key asset maps and functional strategies step 4. We said if the world never changed, a business could continue to pursue the same strategies in the same way, using the same key assets indefinitely. But now we're saying, well, hang on a second, the world does change. From time to time, to change in political, economic, social, cultural, and technological factors, which will impact on our 5 forces. Because our industry characteristics have changed, we have to revisit our strategy. We've got the right strategy in place in the light of change market. And if our strategy changes, we've got the right mix of key assets, we've got the right people, right processes, and so on. And we have to think about how we revisit these things a bit later on. But in addition to thinking about how the pest factors impact on the 5 forces in general, we also have to consider how they might impact on the brand identity of the business. So what am I talking about here? Well, as I mentioned at the end of module 2 and the start of module 3 in the recap, businesses should be selecting strategies that are consistent with their strategy canvas. That helps them to ensure where they would like to be positioned becomes where the businesses actually position the market as perceived by the customers. And businesses actually work very hard to attain their desired brand identity and actually meet the needs of their customers in the way they want to. So far, so good. The only problem is customer needs don't stay static. They change over time. Pest factors often introduce new customer needs, perhaps things the business never even thought of. And if the business hadn't seen these changes coming, they wouldn't have invested in those needs, and that would have had a negative impact on the brand identity of the business. So for example, let's say we think about the car manufacturing industry a few decades ago and think about the factors that have always been important to customers. It might be in the size of the engine, how many doors, is it family friendly, and different car manufacturers have had different positions depending upon their target market. We said there's no right answer in relation to this. A high performance sports car have had one position, a family saloon another, and so on. But car manufacturers in general didn't even need to think about how environmentally friendly the car was, how sustainable it was. Of course, any car manufacturer that hadn't seen those changes coming, they wouldn't invest in those needs and have had a negative impact on the brand identity of the business. So in addition to thinking about the pest factors impact on the 5 forces in general, are there any new or emerging customer needs? And what will our brand identity look like if we just carry on as we are at the moment? Do we need to incorporate those new needs into our thinking? So as well as thinking about the pest factors impact on the 5 forces, we also think about the impact on the brand identity and are there any new or emerging customer needs? Actually refers to the future brand identity model. Perhaps a better name for it would be the future customer needs model. This one's all about identifying new or emerging customer needs. But first is the future brand identity model because that creates that sense of urgency. It's what brand is going to look like if we carry on as we are at the moment. We need to incorporate those needs into our thinking, otherwise we're going to score really badly in relation to these new needs. So I say refer to as future brand identity. And of course, we have to apply this to the legal market. So we said last time, these are at least some of the facts important to clients. We said this has changed over recent decades. So ESG, diversity become more important, use of technology, and now, of course, use of AI as clients understand what can be streamlined and optimized. We can't just ignore that one and have a negative impact on our brand identity. And then we also mentioned this one last time of growing importance, again, that knowledge of the client, so you can provide that personalized, bespoke advice, that tailored advice to the client that does something different to them, what generic AI can do. And of course, the more we use AI to do the routine stuff, it frees us up to provide that strategic advice. A quote on this one from Bloomberg last year, so it's obvious this one. But as AI technology enables us to focus on higher level strategic aspects of the work, shifting away from repetitive and time-consuming tasks. But that strategic aspects of work requires a structure. No point saying we need to be more strategic. Well, what does that mean? So we have to use these frameworks to break client down, understand their key assets, what drives the competitive advantage, and so on. So Portal forces has an impact on our 5 forces, but not just that, also the brand identity of the business. Because these have changed, we have to revisit everything. You have to incorporate those new needs onto the strategy canvas. It might be a new need we don't care about. We might be happy to score a poor brand identity in relation to specific customer needs. So how much you want to prioritize that new need, having incorporated it. And then because these have changed and our priorities might have changed, we've got the right strategies, and then we've got the right people, using the right technology, right mix of real estate, and so on. And we have to revisit these things sooner rather than later at point A on the sigmoid curve, rather than when we're staying disaster in the face at point B. So this is where we'll look at the sigmoid curve in a bit more depth. So the sigmoid curve is used to map a number of phenomena within the business environment. Often you show a product life cycle with an introductory phase when new products are introduced into the market, a fast growth phase as more people start to adopt this product or service, a maturity phase, the market starts to become more saturated, and then a phase of decline. And those of you with a science background or the sigmoid curve applies to just about anything in science, nature, and the universe as a whole. But in the business environment, businesses need to, if they can at least, start to make the appropriate change close to point A on the sigmoid curve, rather than when they're staying disaster in the face at point B. And the best quote then on the sigmoid curve, and what sigmoid curve is all about, comes from Charles Handy, the co-founder of London Business School. And this is what he says about the sigmoid curve and point A and point B. So the world keeps changing. It's one of the paradoxes of success, that things that got you where you are, some things that keep you there. Sigmoid curve is something story of life itself. Start loading phone.